Welcome to Wisdom on the Front Porch. Subscribe, ring the bell, like, and share the wisdom.
Oh, it's time for Reading Between the Words podcast, where you hear the story behind the book. You get to meet the author themselves and hear their story and the why for writing their book. Books of real life, stories that come to life. Fact or fiction, there is mystery, intrigue, and there is laughter. There may be books for business or how to overcome challenges, or who knows what the next book will be. Join us for another great book and guest right now. If you like this podcast, share the love and pay it forward.
Welcome to another episode of Reading Between the Words. And today we have another wonderful author, speaker from the book. And Deepak, why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself and then tell us what your chapter is called.
Sure. So, Alice, thanks for the opportunity. I'm actually really enjoying this because I think it's a great way for me to get my voice across. When I got together, I'm thinking about it, I got invited to participate in this book. I really love the fact that I'm going to talk about love and compassion. And that's very, 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 I think it's a basic human need, right? We all are social animals and we kind of forget it along the way, especially with this social media frenzy where everyone loves to criticize. No one wants to share love. It becomes fantastic. So I spoke because of the fact that I have 30 years of work experience in the corporate world and I have exited the rat race, to put it that way, right? Even if you win, you're still a rat, right, Ellis? So when I exited because one, I learned two things in life. One is there is no end to the money you can make. And number two, at the end of it all, on your deathbed, what are you going to talk about? You're not going to talk about those promotions, right? You're going to talk about the fact that you helped someone or you had a great event. Maybe it was a wedding. Maybe it's the birth of your grandchild. I don't know. And in COVID, I lost family members. I fell to COVID twice. And that recovery process actually made me realize, what are you up to? What is your purpose? I mean, is it the titles that you want, the senior directors, the VPs, or what do you want to do in your life? So I would say that experience and then certain events in my own very close family, it made me realize that mental health is something that we don't talk about. I'm in the corporate world and I spend a lot of time coaching people. And LS, one of the things I realized is that when you're in the corporate world, you're talking to people about managing upwards, how to communicate better. But when you start scratching the surface, you suddenly realize that there's so much pain, so much angst that people have. And many of the things I'm not trained to handle. I get that, right? As a coach, I don't get into your mind. I don't apply any psychotherapy or anything like that. I'm not trained for that in any case. As I listen to those stories, I actually realize that mental health is extremely critical. And my interest got sparked. My interest caught fire when personally it impacted me, personally it impacted members of my family. And then I realized that the corporate world is set up for the hustle. How do you survive? How do you keep your mind around that? So I wrote a personal approach into winning with love. And I wrote it, and my chapter is simply about the corporate struggles that we have. And I wrote it in the way, Ellis, it's a story. I talk about the person impacted, it's in the first person. And then I switch over to the person's family, represented by the dad, the father. And he talks about his experience of watching his son degrade over time and what happens from being a corporate star, a mogul who's going to rule the world. And then suddenly you realize that your son, who you've cherished all your life, is now struggling to the point where he exits his job. His company tries to be fair with him, but it's an extreme. And then the recovery process, which is very painful. That, I hope, Alice, it's a long-winded answer, but this topic is so dear to my heart. I had to get everything off my chest. Back to you, ma'am.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. I'm just wondering, how did you pack all of that into your one chapter? That is quite a lot. Wow.
So this is the author speaking.
I haven't read all of them yet. I'm going to go to yours next.
Sure. So, Alice, how do I pack that into one chapter? With immense difficulty. I think you know this as someone who speaks to people, and most likely you're a writer yourself. Alice, the biggest difficulty always is when you tell me write something for 10,000 words, it's far easier to write something in 200 words or 1,000 words. Trying to condense this extremely complicated story, which has these emotional roots, was very difficult for me. It was. Every word kind of reminds you of, it's like that little scab you have in your hand, and some people have a habit of they keep peeling it off and it keeps bleeding. That's what happens when you write. But when I was writing, for once in my life, I had purpose. I actually was writing to actually send a message out, not to plant a flag and say, hey, guess what? I can write and I've got a book behind me. That was not going on at all. I genuinely wanted to send a message to people out there that, hey, look, just to give you a statistic, Alice, and I might be digressing. If you feel that, hey, this guy is flying like a kite, haul me back in. Haul me back in, okay? If, to a, when I speak to 100 people, I will tell you, Alice, nearly 30% of the guys are actually suffering with sufficient burnout, depression, or job dissatisfaction that warrants visiting someone out externally. Now, a lot of people tell me, oh, wow, that means 70% are okay. I'm like, no, 70% just have a high threshold, or they don't give, they don't give, they don't care. They're just there because they're expecting that one day this fantastic golden chariot is going to come. Next promotion. So you tolerate it, and your tolerance level is what defines your ability to break down. Of those 30 people that I'm talking about now, there's another 8 out of 100 that will actually realize at some point in their career that they cannot take it anymore, and they will exit in flames. Now, the question that I need to ask you is, if 8 out of 100 people, which is 8% of people that are in the corporate world, are going to go down in flames, what are we waiting for? For something to be statistically significant? I think 8% is.
Yeah.
And the way I kind of explain this to myself is that if a doctor helps deliver 100 babies and he drops 8 and then he says that I only dropped 8%, what's the big deal? Ask the mother whose child got dropped, right? What she feels. Suddenly you're not a statistic anymore. It's like 30 people die in a plane crash and the newspaper says 30 people died. But if Peter dies in the plane crash, the headline is going to say Peter died. That was the whole point of this. How do you normalize those 8 people? How do you cherish that 8%? And that was the point of this story. So that, hey, sounds like a small number, but when it hits you, it's like COVID, right? Everyone's arguing about freedom. Ask me, who lost family members in COVID. I still have chest breathing issues from long COVID. COVID, whether you like it or not, I am going to get my booster. I'm going to get my vaccine because I have been directly impacted in an extremely negative way. And I'm not going to accept this loss is standard because 1% of the population has to die from COVID. I don't want to say this, but hey, heck, why was that 1% someone from my house? Why not from the neighbor's house? Extremely selfish statement. And I would never say it. When you face personal loss, then everything's okay in love and war, right? Alice, and that's where I found myself.
Mm.
Anger, the feeling of unfairness, why my son, as the father talks about in this. And my whole point was the importance of family during a mental health crisis. How does a father step in? How does a parent step in? The role of a caregiver is immense. How many of us are prepared for it? In fact, when we look at other people's kids who are impacted, we typically use very, very stigmatized language to talk about those people. But when it hit home to me, I actually suddenly realized that when I was using words like slow, even the R word has been used, right? And I've made those mistakes at my level. But when it hit home, I actually realized that, oh my gosh, love and compassion is something that I had retained for my impact and for myself and for my own family. Where did you go wrong, Deepak? That was not how you were raised. Suddenly, I realized that there's a message I need to give to people here. Don't wait for it to hit you. And if something doesn't hit you, doesn't mean it doesn't exist. It happens. It happens to other people.
Yeah.
So that was the thought process. Back to you, ma'am.
Yeah. I love that process. And it is too bad sometimes that we have to have something hit us to help us to get our perspective back
Yep.
where it needs to be. Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
So now that you have the chapter written and the book is over, what kind of emotions are going through with you? Because I know for some people it's like, wow, I'm so glad it's done, but I just want to go on with my life. And other people, I mean, this is a very different book. This isn't just telling a little bit about your business. This is really a very different book.
Alice, that's a profound question. And since it's Christmas, the feeling that I have is the way that Scrooge has his altercation and this revelation with the ghost of Christmas past, was it? I mean, I can't recall
Mm-hmm.
the story. I've been reading more fantastic adult-oriented stuff since then. And he has this epiphany where he looks back, right? And he realizes that I have lived my life wrongly.
Yeah.
This chapter actually told me that there is value in what I have to share. I am now more committed to it. I would never have admitted that I went through a mental health crisis. I would never admit that I've seen close family members go through it because guess what? Whether you like it or not, leadership in the corporate world is all about hoo-ha. I'm the man, and the man cannot show any chink in his armor, because if you do that, you ain't gonna get promoted. Because then I've always said this to people: when you're at a junior level, a lot of people work hard to promote you, but as you're getting into this rarefied atmosphere of senior leadership, they're looking for ways to hold you back. And are you
Mm.
seriously telling me that people are really willing to accommodate mental health at a point where they're going to let someone become a VP, a senior VP, knowing that the guy has openly spoken about his mental health? There are some companies which are very mature, Ellis. Some are. So where am I in my thought
Yeah.
process? One, be bold, be brave. That's where I am. I'm going to talk about it openly, and I'm going to encourage people to seek guidance. Two, not just talk about it to yourself. Don't talk about it to your therapist. Talk about it to your family. Family can be the biggest. I don't want to call it a crutch, but I'd like to put it this way. These are the guys that mentally are going to be talking to you in your mind, and they're going to be there to put that little hand on your shoulder. And when I talk about love or compassion, I'm mentioning it to the other authors as well, is that love comes in various forms, Alice. It's a kiss on the forehead,
Mm.
right? It's an arm on your shoulder. And that's what sometimes people need. How many times have I had a situation where someone says, I'm feeling down? You hug that person and they suddenly just don't let go of you. What's going on there? And now in the corporate world, where's the need for this touchy-feely stuff? Because very soon you're going to be in front of HR having a conversation on what was going on, why are you hugging people, stuff like that. So to answer your question in a succinct manner, I am right now, I actually took this thought process a bit forward. I actually wrote a play where I actually dramatized the entire concept that I have in this book into a drama for the stage. We are working on trying to see how we can get it launched on a stage. I then took that drama
Nice.
and I converted it to a novella. I'm going to bundle those two together, and it's actually today gone for editing, final editing and formatting,
Nice.
LS. And that's
Okay.
a offer to the world again to say that if you don't have the time to read these big tomes and these books, because a lot of people in this day and age, believe it or not, even though this is so small and so tiny and so absorbable, don't want to read.
Yeah.
I'm extending that then to a self-care guide. The self-care guide simply says that, hey, here are 25 chapters which are going to cover things like burnout. But I'm not going to preach to you. I'm going to tell you how to sense when something is wrong with you. What do you need to do? And then I'm going to tell you who to go to. Because I don't want to solve your problem, but I
Nice.
want you to
Nice.
understand how to identify those things that are going wrong with you. And it's subtle things, loss of appetite. So if I go back to my situation, if I go back to the situation of the loved ones that were impacted for mental health, it's surprising, Alice. It was in front of us and we missed it because
Yeah.
I'm busy at work. I have a backlog. Therefore, I didn't have time to shave. I didn't have time to shower. Hygiene, weight loss, erratic thoughts, a sudden urgency to work. You are in a public event and you get this amazing feeling that you don't belong here. You need to be somewhere else and you just exit. I have seen people leave their own birthday parties because they are falling apart inside. And the family members are absolutely not understanding what's going on. And they're using words to label this
Mm.
individual as, and that's what I'm trying to get to. So this book is actually for young professionals who think that hustle leads to bustle. And I'm like, slow down, slow down. Hustle is awesome as long as you get the balance right. How do you get this balance right? First, self-care, self-coach. Don't spend $500 an hour with an external coach. There are such simple techniques that you start asking and talking to yourself and internalize what you need to do. When you feel that you are incapable of coping with it at your level, go outside, seek help. There are good specialists out there, but do it fast, do it quick. And when you are in doubt
Yes.
about your self assessment capabilities, talk to your wife, talk to your spouse, talk to your brother, talk to your colleague at work. You will be surprised, Alice. Those guys will not talk to you, but when you ask them, I'm feeling down. Have you noticed anything different about me? People will suddenly say, hey, do you want to have a cup of coffee? I really want to give you some feedback. But they will
Oh,
never give you
good.
feedback because it's intrusive. I'm trying to
Mm-hmm.
explain to people, I want you to open up a little bit, just a little bit, because you'll be surprised. Humanity is not as bad as we think it is, Alice. There are people out there, when you open up a little bit, they will step in, not to
Yes.
rip you apart, but actually to reach in and help you. And if I could just
Yes.
kind of visualize this for you, it's like that little beam of light that goes through this wound that you have. He's this Persian poet, Rumi, and he writes so well. And there's this line which a lot of people have misunderstood, I think. The way I've interpreted it is that the wound is where the light enters the soul. And you really need that light to go through. Now, when he wrote it, he was writing about God. That whatever pain and aches you have, that light, that wound that goes in, which is the presence of God, it enlightens you, it heals you. And I'm saying that let's just forget for 1 second that there's God, or let's just say, let love, let compassion enter into you through those wounds that you have. Now, this it's not a superficial wound or a deep wound, it's not a physical wound. It's something that's hurting you. And when this light or this compassion, this love comes through, it actually has healing virtues to it. Because first you actually are opening up to people, and I can tell you one thing. It is, and I can't, my English is my second language. Cathartic, is that the right word, Ellis? It is
Yes.
so good to let things off. I've been at funerals where the person did not cry for 3 days. And then suddenly
Oh,
when they
yeah.
start crying, it's like the weight of you just watch and you like say, what? But she was so strong. She just has gone through 3 days. She was okay. What happened to her now? It's hit her. And most likely it hit her because someone said something or someone encouraged her to let it out. I'm going to pause because this topic actually gets me emotional because I've gone through so much in trying to package, trying to put together. Because, Alice, my background is that I'm from India, right? And if you think about Indians, you always know they're very driven. When a child is born, we're flipping a coin, engineer or doctor, right? When you put everything into the context of academics, achievement, money, right? Then you suddenly realize that with mental health, you're going to lose all that. And when you lose all that, it's like you've lost the family jewels in an Indian family. My voice is wavering because you got to understand here. I would argue 100% of men or women in my situation will not talk to family at all because there's a massive cultural stigma attached to it. And if there's
Mm.
anyone listening to this podcast who would like to challenge me on that, please be absolutely welcome to do it. Cultures differ from place to place. Some cultures are more understanding and more open about conversations around this topic. Some cultures will
Right.
just clam up,
Right.
shut up, because it's like the family honor. What do you mean your son is not feeling well? Why? What did you do? Did he drink too much? Did he take drugs? And you suddenly realize, wait a minute, what just happened here? So that stigma is one of the biggest reasons why I also said the best way to remove stigma is to actually expose it to the sun. The more we talk
Right.
about something, the more you actually sensitize people, not desensitize, you sensitize people. Just because you close your eyes and no one can see you. Remember when you were a child playing that hide and seek game, Ellis, and you close your eyes and you believe that no one can see you. Hey, stop it. That's not what's happening here. Just because you are thinking that there's no such thing as mental health or mental health is for weak people, Deepak. This is an actual quote
Oh,
from my boss. This was an actual quote from my
wow.
boss, and I just looked at him. The other quote that really blew me was, hey, you're a director. You have a director level brain. What are you talking about? Do you think I'm going to open up my
Mm.
heart and talk about my personal angst to a manager like that?
Nope.
And that is the other point of the work that I'm doing. Since I come from the corporate world, Ellis, I'd like to take this message back to those leaders. Hey, leaders, take care of yourselves. Stop with the bravado.
Hmm.
And number two, as you take care of yourself and as you're open about it and show your vulnerability, watch the people around you change. People
For the
are,
better.
I don't want to say this, Alice, for the better. If the leader stands up and says, hey, it is okay, I have doubts too. I also have imposter syndrome. I have self doubt. It's okay. Want to have a cup of tea with me? Let's chat about it. Alice, back to you, ma'am, because I can talk and talk and talk on this topic, as you can see.
Oh, no, but what you have to say is so important and it's so true. And it is amazing that when the leader starts to open up, then the others feel like, wow, that means I can actually address how I'm really feeling. And it's not that it's everything's going to fall apart. You actually find a strength in that. And then
Yes.
you're there to help each other and to find out what to do to go on and to get that courage and strength, because if you don't have it one day, somebody else says, here, use mine for today, and vice versa. Maybe they won't the next day, so you need to be there to help them. And that's really
Yep.
important to bring it out. I love what you're doing with this. I had no idea. And I'm just so encouraged by you having this forward looking mind to do more with it. and to bring it into the corporate world. As scary as that can be, you're still taking action on it. And I'm really blessed to be able to know that you're doing that. And now I really
Thanks,
want
Alice.
to
Means a lot
see
to me.
what's
Yeah,
going on. Yeah.
absolutely.
So let people know where they can find the book because I have to read your chapter.
Absolutely. Please do read my chapter. I think it's different from the rest of the book. The book, Alice, is on Amazon.com. In fact, I think I was the first guy to quickly, the second it came out in physical print, I picked up 5 copies, signed it, and when I flew back to India, I gave 2 copies to my mom and dad, and I wanted to dedicate it to
Nice.
them, and 3 copies to very close friends and family. And to the rest, I told them, please buy the darn book. I need the money.
Yep.
But then at the end of the day, it's not about the money, but you know what happens, right? Family and friends typically were like, hey, can I get a signed copy? Yeah, yeah, yeah. And then you realize that authorship is a pauper's game, which it
Yeah.
is, which it is, which is it. And but I don't write to make money, Alice. I write to make an impact, and I'm enjoying that.
Yes.
And I wrote this
Absolutely.
in a first person narrative. And I would love to, if possible, read just a paragraph that I wrote in the first person about
Yeah.
Andrew, if you have time
Definitely.
and if you're okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I'd
Okay, oh
love to
cool.
hear it.
So the way I wrote this was that it starts off with, hey, hi, I'm Neil. And immediately the person realizes that, wait a minute, this is different. This is someone talking to me. And it was. So I have him talking to the reader. And he kind of walks through his degradation, how his arc falls, his sense of, that he's spinning. He doesn't know what the heck's going on, how he destroys his relationship because of that. And then he comes to this point where he started his ritual of getting better. He's got the right support, but then he tries to summarize the importance of family. And the way I wrote that was that, and I'm going to try my best to bring a little bit of emotion to this if possible, or it's just going to be a straightforward reading. But this is Neil now talking to the audience or to the reader. And you got to understand the way when I was writing this, I was thinking about how would someone stand on a stage and do a monologue on this, talking to this audience and
Oh,
reaching out.
wow.
So that's the genesis of this thought process. Throughout my darkest days and my darkest moments, my family's unwavering love anchored me. Their patience, even when they didn't fully understand what I was going through, created a safe space where I could confront my mental health struggles without fear of judgment. In their eyes, I wasn't broken. I was someone worthy of love and healing. They stood by me through the confusion, communicating openly and listening without trying to fix anything. Their constant presence taught me the most valuable lesson. Healing takes time and it requires the strength to confront illness and believe in the possibility of a better future. Their support became the foundation upon which I slowly began to rebuild my life. My journey towards recovery was a collective effort that was intertwined with the love and resilience of my family. Amidst this compassionate environment, my father played an especially pivotal role, transitioning from a supportive observer to an active participant. My father's actions offer profound insight into the challenges and how one can triumph of navigating my mental health journey. His unwavering commitment and deep paternal love provided a solid foundation for my path to healing. I now would like to hand it over to him to share his perspective. And then what happens in the rest of the chapters, Ellis, it switches to Andrew, who's Neil's father's perspective. And then he starts talking about what he saw, how much pain he took, how it tore the family apart, but then what they did to build it brick by brick by brick. And then Andrew changes the conversation to talk to other parents and says, here were some resources that helped me. Here were some places I went to understand what was happening to my son. I spoke with his doctors. So you can look at this as a story with a little bit of a guide. It's not
Mhm.
overbearing. It doesn't dictate. It doesn't codify what you should do as a parent. It simply says, I know you're going to be confused. I know you're going to be caught between this emotional need to be there for your son, but you also got to be the pragmatic parent. You are a caregiver, and there's a reason why they call you a caregiver. It's beyond love and compassion or praying to God. It's about what you can physically now do, how you
Right.
talk. So I ended the chapter with some advice, even how you convince a mentally health person to listen to you. Because remember, their reality, Alice, is their reality, and it
Right.
is the reality for them. You can talk to this person and you can tell him, why are you wearing a pink shirt? And he will actually look you in the face and tell you, it's blue. Now you have the option to
That's
either
true.
tell him, what are you talking about? It's pink. Or you say to him, oh, that's cool. And you move on. Because that is not where you pick the fight. This is
Right.
not the point. You move on and you wait for that moment of lucidity because it does come. And that's when you step in and say, hey, would you like to wear that blue shirt again that you had on earlier? It was awesome. And he will say to you, yes, I love that blue shirt. Suddenly it's not pink anymore. So choose, be pragmatic, approach it, understand that to me it was more like, curiosity. It's like a child again. The child who is now 26 years old, who is now struggling, at one point when he was 5 years old, he used to exasperate you with asking those childish questions. Just think of it that way, that God has given an opportunity to once again go back 20 years in your life. And I'm sorry, I'm getting emotional. And just do and dial yourself down to that level. And when you do that, that's when the magic occurs. You cannot dial up. You got to dial down. And when you dial down, you're actually slowing yourself down. It's like the breathing exercises, right? Something happens.
Right.
Same thing. You're going to dial down your emotions. You are at that point screaming, why God? Why? Why me? Why my son? But that's not going to help you. It's not.
That's
It's
right.
like, I don't know how to explain it to you, but it's just one of those things. You gotta, and
Yeah.
it's not about, because when you say that why me, then you're implying that it could be someone else, which is also weird, isn't it? Because now you're trying to say that, hey, if I
It's
struggle,
true.
others should struggle, or I don't want to struggle. That's unfair. You're trying to, it's like a hex. Since I'm going down, baby, I'm going to take everyone else down with me. That's not how it works. It shouldn't work
No.
like that. No. Okay, back to you again, but I'm really enjoying myself. Thank you for this opportunity.
Oh,
I'm really enjoying
that's
this
great.
conversation.
Yeah, and I just seen that our time is already up and it just goes
Hmm.
way too fast. I love how you told about your chapter and I love the story that you have in it. Yeah, I definitely am looking forward to it. We'll get it on Amazon, Winning with Love. And thank you so much, all the way from India, right here,
Yeah, absolutely.
talking to
So
me. And
absolutely, Ella. Thanks very much for the opportunity. I really hope you guys get the book, read the chapter. Not just my chapter. I think
yes,
there's some amazing chapters in that book.
there are.
Short,
Yeah,
compact, sweet. I really enjoyed this 98 pages of pleasure. It's just short enough to keep the attention span of anyone who's used to reading 100
that's right.
characters on Twitter or something. So, Alice, I'm going to bid adieu then. Thank you very much for this opportunity. Really appreciate it.
All right. And thank you. Thank you for being here, listening, or watching this on YouTube. And we'll see you next time on Reading Between the Words.
Bye, everyone.